My name is June Craig and I live in a village called Donamana in County Tyrone, and I'm a mother of 2 adult boys, and they have given me 2 lovely granddaughters.
And my name is Stephen Key. I live close to Oma in County Tyrone. I am a married father of 1, age 55, and we have both received heart transplants.
Well, I suppose, to cut a very long story short, I have an inherited genetic condition called cardiomyopathy, and it's quite strong in our family. A number of my siblings, my cousins, nephews, nieces have been affected. I was working as a district nurse and I found that life was getting tough and I started to have heart failure. I kept going as long as I could, to eventually I had to give up work. And I'd been off work about a year when my internal defibrillator went off one night, and thankfully I had it because it saved my life. And I was told the sad news that I was in complete heart failure and that my only option was a heart transplant. And I was taken to Newcastle to the Freeman Hospital, where I had a 3-day assessment, and thankfully they agreed that I was suitable for organ donation. And I was 81 days on the list when I got a phone call to say that a heart might be suitable, because you don't really know until you get there whether the heart is suitable or if you're suitable. So thankfully I received that gift of organ donation, and that's why I'm here today.
My journey was different to June's. I suffered heart failure by a virus and had a diagnosis that involved fitting an ICD and had a really good recovery. After just under 30 months, the virus returned and proceeded to destroy what remained of my heart. And my journey to transplant was very rapid from that stage. In fact, exactly 4 weeks after my doctor said the oxygen levels are very low in your blood, Stephen, my GP, I was in theatre getting a heart transplant. I was one of the very unusual recipients that I was only on the active list for 5 days and was basically in hospital dying and had only a few days left. So transplantation was the only option, and without a donor there wouldn't be any story, and I wouldn't be here at all. But recovery took a while, and I think we're both doing well now, June.
Yeah.
Yes. And all down to the power of organ donation, which is why we're able to talk to you.
Well, I'm nearly 3 years post-transplant, and I've achieved so much in that 3 years. 5 weeks after I had my transplant, my son got married, so I was able to go to that. And I now have 2 granddaughters, and there's another grandchild on the way. I used to travel a lot, and I didn't travel since transplant until the end of last year. And I was able to go to Australia, and we had a great time in Australia and came back home, and life is good. Life is very good. And again, without that special gift, there wouldn't be a story to tell.
Life after transplant, I think the most significant things that came to me were that I could breathe again. I could actually get a breath, and I could move, I could stand up, I could sit down. I spent a long period in hospital post-transplant in recovery, but when I got home after 3 months, I remember coming home and my daughter said, "Come and look at my new bedroom." My bedroom has been painted. And off we went upstairs, and I bounded up the stairs after, and the rest of my family stood open-mouthed in the hall going, "My goodness, we haven't seen him done that in 5 years." And it's just the physical changes that were the most evident. To get out and to get a breath of fresh air and to actually take lungfuls of air, it's so significant. I haven't travelled. I'm not as far down the road as June, so maybe those days are ahead of me. She's maybe the guinea pig. Transplantation isn't a cure, but it's certainly...
It's a treatment.
Yes, a treatment.
It's a treatment.
Without a donor, or without donors,
Yes.
we would not
We
be
would
able
not
to tell
be
the
here.
story.
No.
And this is why it's so important for people to have a conversation, and all you need to do is say, this is what my wishes are, and if my wishes are X and they're respected, other people will receive the gift of
Yes.
life.
It's following through with people's wishes and people having the conversation and letting your family know that this is what I would like to happen.
In my own case, I was a donor for 21 years, and when it came out on the driving licences, I just signed it. And I had been a motorcyclist and I worked in high-risk industries, and it just came naturally. I thought, like, if anything happens to me, there'll be some parts of me will be useful, but I never ever thought I would need an organ.
Families find it very difficult because they're in a very difficult situation where it's the most emotional time of their life and it's not easy to think clearly. And that's why I think they need to have that conversation where everybody is in a level playing field and they know exactly what their loved one wants to happen. And I think, you know, because as a medic or as a nurse, it's a very difficult conversation to have with a patient, their family. It's so raw, it's so emotional, and people just don't know where to turn. Whereas if those decisions have been made, it makes it easier, I would imagine.
I think the hospital that Jude and I received our transplants in, the Freeman in Newcastle, is the biggest centre in the UK for heart transplants. The year that I was transplanted, there was 22 adults transplanted, and I think
28 the year I was transplanted.
Yeah, and the tragedy is there was hundreds waiting.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of people on the list for various organs, and one donor can support so many people.
If anybody needs any encouragement, they just have to look at us too. I mean, here's two people, one that has, one yourself, June, that has managed to live a good few years longer so far and has seen a lot of changes in their family. Myself, I mean, my wife and I have an adult daughter with special needs, and it takes two parents to look after her. And that is a very, very good reason for someone to just sign.
And I think you do need to sign the card and carry it with you so that it does make the conversation at the other side easier, if that makes sense.
Join the conversation, June.
Yeah,
eh?
join the conversation.